Ivan stood, unable to move, as the old man disappeared and the clock began to move again, this time in the correct direction. Ivan felt his memories returning to him, and he understood that he had to make a choice: either stay and explore this world to the end or return to his life, but changed. "You want to know the truth about death," the old man said. His voice was soft but carried power. "But you are not ready to see what lies behind the curtains of reality." Ivan ran towards the clock mechanism, hoping to stop it and restore order to this chaotic world. But as he approached, the clock suddenly stopped, and a new figure appeared before him, an old man with a face etched with the wrinkles of time. In the distance, Ivan saw an ancient clock mechanism as big as a house. Its hands moved backward, and each tick made Ivan feel as if time around him was reversing. He felt his memories beginning to erase from his mind, and realized that if he didn't leave quickly, he might forget who he was. Ivan found himself in a world where logic and the laws of nature were turned upside down. He walked on unstable ground, where each step caused waves that distorted the space around him. The sky was covered with flickering stars that could suddenly fall down, turning into fiery meteors. Ivan's journey had taken a turn into the abyss of horror, where each step forward was a descent into madness. The house was no longer just a building, it was a gateway to the horrors that lay in the spaces between worlds. Into a realm where reality was twisted, a place of nightmares made flesh. Shadows danced around him, taking on forms of his deepest fears. Faces of the dead flashed before his eyes, accusing him of trespassing into a world not meant for the living. With a deep breath, Ivan chose the third door. As his hand touched the knob, the room filled with a blinding light, and the voices screamed in a terrifying crescendo. He turned the knob and stepped through. But it was the third door that drew Ivan's attention the most. It was plain, unremarkable, and yet he felt a sense of dread emanating from it. The keepers of the house had spoken of a truth beyond death, and Ivan knew that whatever lay behind this door would change everything. He turned to the second door, and as he did, the voices fell silent. This door was adorned with intricate carvings that seemed to twist and writhe under Ivan's gaze. He felt a pull towards it, a morbid curiosity to see the eternal torments it promised. As Ivan stood before the three doors, the air grew colder, and the whispers turned into a cacophony of voices, each one telling a tale of sorrow and pain. He reached out to the first door, its surface cold and unyielding. The voices grew louder, urging him to open it, promising a return to the warmth of life. But Ivan hesitated. Something about the voices felt wrong. Ivan's story continued, and each step in this house revealed new horrors to him. But to find out what happened to the boy next, one must delve into a world where the boundaries between the living and the dead are blurred, and every rustle might mean you're no longer alone. Ivan, unable to resist, followed her. The house stood alone on the edge of the forest, its windows broken, and the door creaked in the wind like a groaning old man. The ghost entered, and Ivan followed. Inside, the house was dark and cold as a grave. Ivan felt shadows gathering around him, whispering, laughing, and crying. He realized these were the souls of those who could never leave this house, the unclean beings of the other world. "Go," she whispered, and her voice sounded like the wind in old trees. Recovering from the shock, Ivan noticed a strange glow. It was coming from behind the bushes by the road. Approaching, he saw a ghost. It was a woman in white, with sad eyes that looked at him through the ages. Ivan felt a fear that made his heart stop, but before he could move, the ghost raised her hand and pointed to an abandoned house behind her. In the dark times, when winter tightly embraced the land with its icy hands, a boy named Ivan was walking down a snow-covered road. The snow crunched under his feet, and the wind whistled as if a ghost was hunting for the souls of lost travelers. Suddenly, a car burst from around the corner, its headlights blinding Ivan, and he barely managed to jump aside, feeling the frosty air from the speeding vehicle sting his face.